7. Anyone do anything interesting for Canada Day? Canada Day weekend? Go anywhere special? Stayed out of the sun? Yeah, it was a hot day. Very hot day. Beach, yeah. I was out. Yeah, you either love the sun or you hate it. Hey. Hey.
Кто я? Что происходит? Я не хочу. Ага, то есть мы сегодня не самоосознаемся, мы сегодня... Да? Аутентифицируемся или нет? Что надо сделать перед смертью? Паспорт. Вот экспресс Гуляврина. Этот класс. Это просто этот класс. Он как бы обязывает. Ну. Дальше реальность. А какие у нас еще классы? Все? Я уже говорю, это этот класс.
All right, welcome back, everybody. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of you. Thanks for coming back after Canada weekend. Couple of announcements, quick announcements. I have released assignment number 2. If you want to get ahead, let me just briefly show that. But before I show that, the other announcement is presentation topics. If you have not already, please email me your group and your top 3 presentation topics, and I'll let you know which one of your top 3 you actually have to present. And that's due midnight tonight to let me know. So for assignment number 2, if you go under assignments and Blackboard, I've released a couple of things here. So you'll see assignment number 2 right here. Let me just briefly introduce that. You will know how to do assignment number 2 pretty much after today's class. So assignment number 2 is basically like your assignment number 1, except add CRUD functionality. So create, read, update, and delete using MongoDB. Accounts for 25% of your grade. Again, just like last time, there's separated into 2 parts just to help you started. Part 1 is due Friday, July 20th. Part 2 is due August 3rd. Okay. So it's basically like assignment number 1 plus CRUD plus authentication, which is what we're doing today. That's it. You have the choice in Rich Freeman's. This is Rich Freeman's original assignment. However, I gave you the choice. He gave you originally to do a classified ID app or your own option. I'm just giving you your own option. So do whatever you want as long as it has that CRUD plus authentication. I actually came across my Twitter feed a couple weeks ago, this link, which might actually help you. So let me just show you that real quick. This site gives you ideas. So for example, create a currency calculator with on-fly conversion. One of these, some of these ideas may not work for your assignment, but if you keep on clicking it away, eventually you'll see something that may work for you, right? So I thought it was kind of neat. So to show, I put that link in the assignment in case you want to refer to that, and in case you need some ideas. And that's basically it. everything else, I don't think. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so just like assignment number 1 plus CRUD plus authentication. Yeah, so that's it for announcements for that. Any questions or comments so far? All right, so today we're going to talk about authentication using Passport. Now, if you check your Blackboard under this week, which is week 8, there is a YouTube video which we'll watch. It's short. It's only 8 minutes long. And this will introduce you to what Passport is and what it does. So here's Blackboard, lesson 8, authentication. I shall play it. It's this link right here, copy link. And let's play it here. Volume is good.
In many apps that use dynamic content, you'll want to restrict access to people who are logged in and possibly customize the view based on that user. For example, we could do a few things with this app. We could require people to register and log in before using it. We could keep separate lists of contacts for each user. We could integrate social media contacts as part of the list. I'm sure we could come up with even more. Authentication is difficult. We've seen numerous big-name websites in recent years get hacked and accidentally share access to the user database. It's an embarrassment, and it puts your users' personal information from your website and possibly other websites at risk. Every web developer should think carefully before rolling their own authentication. It's not incredibly complicated to create your own authentication system, but it is incredibly complicated to do it well. If you're going to have your own authentication system, you should strongly consider using a module that has many users and developers looking at the code, evaluating the security, and constantly releasing updates. Another situation to consider is relying on third-party authentication providers, for example, social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. Fortunately, the module we'll be using in this section, Passport.js, can do all of the above. Passport is a middleware, code that runs before your browser views, which deals with authentication for you. It supports more than 140 authentication strategies, including username and password, social media login, OAuth, and OpenID. It is a well-documented open source library with numerous developers that have been in constant development since 2011. We installed Passport along with our other dependent modules earlier, but there is another step that must be done before we can use it. We need to decide on an authentication strategy. If we search for Passport-related modules, we can see a lot that enable various kinds of authentication. Some allow logging in via external providers. Some allow hooking into a single sign-in provider. There's an LDAP login module and numerous other options. We're going to start out by using simple local authentication. That means users will register by picking a username and password and then entering it into your site to log in. We're going to use a couple modules to help us. First, we'll need to enable session support, which we'll discuss in more detail during the next video. We'll also install Passport-local, which enables local database authentication, and Passport-local-mongoose, a module that will reduce the amount of code we need for mongoose-based user profiles. You can add these modules to your package.json, or you can npm install -save them. In your app.js, you'll require express-session and assign it to a variable called session. In older versions of Express, this was built in, but in the recent versions, it has been separated into its own module so that it can be updated on a different schedule. After app.use key parser, add a line to initialize the session middleware. I'm passing in 3 strings, a secret which is used to help encrypt sessions and should be kept private and unique for your app. Also, I'm explicitly setting values for resave, true, and save initialized, false. Resave true updates the session on each page view, even if it didn't change. This helps to avoid sessions expiring. Save initialized, false, means that sessions aren't stored for brand new sessions that are empty. They won't be stored until something is in them. This cuts down on database traffic for an anonymous user. The next step is to define our user profile model. This is a schema much like the contact schema. We call it account and put it in models, account.js. We are only going to define 2 fields, nickname and birth date. And really, we're only using these as an example for the schema. This app won't use either of those. Note that we don't need to specify a username field or a password. Our helper code does that for us. Now we need to require Passport and Passport-local back in app.js. After we define our middleware, we'll create a new section for Passport. We need to initialize the configuration and then enable session support. We also need to require our module that we recently created. Passport has a callback that needs to be defined and our passport local mongoose function will create this for us from the account model. Lastly, for this part, we need to define serialized user and deserialized user functions. These functions store the user's logged in state in the database. Again, the work is mostly being done by our account model. We're going to define routes for logging in, registering, and logging out. We'll keep these in a file called auth.js. This file is not a lot different from our context.js route. We use router.route for the register URL, providing both get and post functions. You'll see that here in the post that we actually register the new account and then check for an error. Right now, we don't do much in the case if there's a problem, but you have a lot of flexibility in what you can do. If it worked, then we log the user in and then redirect to the context URL. Then we specify a router.get for /login, which shows the form. I didn't use router.route here because I wanted to show that the .post method has two functions that are used. The first is the passport.authenticate function. Right now, we're sending in the least amount of parameters, but you can do a lot more, including redirect on failure. The second callback will only be called if the first one succeeds. If it succeeds, it means we successfully logged in, and we simply get redirected to the contacts page. The last thing here is a logout function. We call rec.logout, and then redirect to the home page. Back in app.js, we wire these routes up under the auth URL. That means we have auth login, auth register, and auth logout. We need to create two views and update our index view. The two we need to create are the login form and the register form. You'll see that the login form looks a lot like the form we use for adding context. It has only two fields, username and password, and it submits to auth login. The register form is exactly the same except for the labels. The index view is still pretty basic. We have an if statement that checks for the user. If it is there, we show the user's name and give them a logout link. If it's not present, which means the user is not logged in, we show two links, one to log in and the other to register. Note that as it stands now, users will never exist because we're not passing a user variable into our view. If we open routes index.js, we can fix that quickly. The user information is part of the rec variable, so we'll just add user:rec.user to the context variables. At this point, we have enough to start testing, though we aren't done yet. If you start up MongoDB and then run npm start, hit your browser. You'll see the login and register links. Go ahead and register, then choose a name and password and submit. If it worked, which it should, you'll be redirected to the contacts page. Go back to the home page and you'll see your username listed and a logout link. Go ahead and hit logout, and then log in with the same username. Once again, you're redirected to the contacts page. Go ahead and log out once more. Now, don't log in and don't register. Just hit the link to the contacts page. You'll see it worked even though you're not logged in. We want to fix this, so let's go back to our routes context.js file. In this file, we need to create a custom middleware that gets called on all routes in this file. This is pretty easy. We simply create a router.use callback and don't define a URL pattern. We pass in rec, res, and next, like usual, and check if the user is logged in. If not, let's redirect back to the login page. If they are, then simply call next to ensure the next matching route is executed. Can it be that simple? Yes, it can. Save your changes and launch the app. Notice that you're logged out. This is because sessions don't survive a server restart. Click on the contacts link, and you should get bounced over to the login form. Log in, and now you can access the app. That's it for local authentication. The excellent passport module really makes this easy. Later, we'll use this.
All right, so I know that he went through that video real fast. I know the first time I saw it, I said, what? There's just so much information. That's what we're going to do today in a more slow fashion, and we'll explain what's happening. Just before we get into that, I just remembered one thing I wanted to say about the midterms. I just wanted to do like a real quick midterm review for one of the things, for the particular the question about the initialization part. So as I was marking all of the midterms, it was really neat to see how everyone had their own idea on how to implement that initial. So I'm just going to review for you what I found, and I actually learned something. So most of you did something like this, where you have the first name, you did the substring, and then you just put the period right after that, space, and then you did the last name here, right? This was the, oh, this one's missing the backticks, but this was the ES6 method. So imagine there's a backtick here. before the $sign, and then you have something like that, right? Another person, he remembered that, you know, anything that's within this angle bracket % without the equals can be JavaScript code, and so he basically had several lines of JavaScript code between his tags, and then in the result he just put the result. But the one I wanted to point out was something that Chris did here. So he actually created his own method in his model. So in his model, he actually defined his player schema dot methods and then named his function dot name, which then did the substring and all that. And then in his EJS file, all he did was, instead of saying his model, you know, players I dot whatever first name, he just calls his function and runs it with a parenthesis, and then that does the same thing. So that, I thought I'd just let you know that that can be done. You can actually define your own methods like that using the dot methods. Another thing I saw that you should definitely know by the time you graduate, and I don't want you to leave without knowing this because it'll be kind of embarrassing if you don't. So in a couple of you installed NodeMon locally, okay? But the way you installed it was wrong. So you probably did npm install NodeMon, which meant that in your package.json, okay, if let's so long, I don't remember. Let's make a directory example. So if I had temp. Right. So if we look at our package.json, what is it for? Is it for? Is it for? What, I forgot the command already. Is it type? Oh, right. Type package.json. So when you said npm install NodeMon, it installed it here into the dependencies. Yeah, that works, but in the real world, you'll get laughed at. So what you want to do is ask the question, is what you're about to install really needed for production? So once you've uploaded it to Azure and Heroku, is NodeMon needed in this case? No, NodeMon is only needed when you, as the developer, are working on it. Right? So the solution is to do --save dev. For this, if I say enter, and then we'll look at our package.json, you'll notice that NodeMon no longer appears under dependencies, but under a new section entirely called dev dependencies. Okay, there we go. So now NodeMon is installed as a dev dependency. That is the correct way to install such packages like NodeMon. FYI, if you're wondering what other packages are there in the real world that I may have to install as a dev dependency, let's just go to some random thing that I. Oh, my command? Yeah, sure. My command to. Oh, cursor up. Yeah, I said type.
No, there's the one the save.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, this is.
I said npm install nodemon --save -dev. That's the long way to do it. Actually, my command, I think I put it right here. Let me magnify this. So you could say this, npm install nodemon --save -dev, or a shortcut, instead of that long way of saying --save dev, you could just say this, npm I nodemon or -D. That's the same thing. It'll save in the development dependencies. All right. Back to where we were. Early scheduled program. Why did I open that? For the future, yeah. Oh, right. I was about to show you something. Right. So the question is, what other packages that need to belong under dev dependency? Answer. So here is a typical Node application, and take a look at this list of names. So Webpack, you may have heard of Webpack. That goes under dev dependencies. If you're using any kind of like Sass, if you're using any kind of Babel. Show of hands who knows what Babel is, or who has heard of it. Real quick. So in this course, I've taught you some of the more modern JavaScript ways, like the arrow functions that we all love. But the older browsers, like IE, 9, 10, they don't recognize arrow functions. They will crash if you try to run modern JavaScript on there. What Babel does, it transpiles your modern JavaScript code into the older way of JavaScript code. Therefore, older browsers can run it. Yeah. Cool. All right, back to our regular scheduled program. Okay, so to do today, passport authentication. We're going to build a login and a registration, and we'll hopefully make that all work by today. I did that. Yes, we did that. Okay. Just to make sure that all of us are starting at the same spot, I've created for you during the reading week this. I want you to download that, and we'll start from that. So basically, this starter template is everything we've done for the first half of the semester. It includes all our CRUD functionality. I even used the Get Paper CSS framework that I asked you to use in the midterm. I thought that was kind of fun. So if we all start at the same place, that would be great. Okay, because I know everyone did their own kind of CSS framework and own kind of thing. So I mean, you don't have to do this if you want to continue with your CSS framework. That's cool too. So let's go ahead and download that. Now you could git clone this, but if you ever wish to upload this back to your own repository on GitHub, then you can't, because you've cloned it and it has my Git stuff. So that means you'll have to delete my .git directory, but I don't want to risk you accidentally deleting your whole computer. So just download it as a zip file if that would be the safest bet. Okay, so let's do that. So let me click on this link and download it myself. So we're on the same page. Clone or download. I shall download the zip file. I shall put it in my regular folder, node folder, which I've already for. Let us unzip that. Zip extract here. There it is. So I now have a folder called Lesson 7 Starter. I'm just going to change the name to Lesson 8. In my case, Lesson 8A. There we go. So now we have this Express app. So the first thing you need to do, well, actually, let's open it up in VS Code. And just to refresh your minds and remind ourselves what's I'm about to run it, but it's going to error out. And you tell me what you need to do to fix it. My Lesson 8 folder, there it is. Okay, so it's been a long reading week. Let's remind ourselves what did I do wrong here. So I'm going to say nodemon. Oh, hold on. In nodemon, I get this error. What do I need to do first? Yeah. So let's say npm I. I just noticed something. What do you all get my variables.env file in there as well? That should. Oh no. Okay, good. All right. How did it appear there? So the second thing you need to do is include your variables.env file. I would recommend going to one of your older projects, just copying and pasting the variables.env file in here, and it should work. I say nodemon and try to run it. This is what it should look like. There. So let me just demonstrate that everything here is everything we've already done. Okay, so we have our games page here, and if I click on play to play the actual game, it takes us to a play game route, as well as the game shows nicely centered where I can play it. If I click on the admin, you see the table that we've had before. You can delete. So if I click on delete, notice I went back to the traditional JavaScript confirm prompt. Are you sure you want to delete this? Okay, so that's fine for now. As well as fill data. If I click on fill data, it gives us more records. If I click on add game, I get a form, or I can add a new game. I'll just say Pac-Man 2. Add game. I have that Pac-Man 2 right here. And if I wish to edit, let's go back to our admin. And if I wish to edit the Pac-Man, I can do so. I'll say Pac-Man 3. Changes, and it should say Pac-Man 3. So it has everything that we've done up to this point. Let me just delete you here just so we have a nice 3 set. And you'll notice I've added these 2 links called register and login, but if you click it, it's just a blank page. So that's what we're going to do today. So we have one route for register. And if I click on login, one route for login with blank page. Okay. So we've all got a nice starter template from where we can start from the same point. Question, yeah, Luke. Now, if it's not working for you, did you use your variable? Did you copy your previous variables.env file into the same? Yeah. What error message are you getting? Does anyone else get? Is anyone else getting an error? Oh, you know why you're not? All right. Anyone else getting errors? Where is it? Is everyone getting this page? Oh.
I'm just getting one.
Oh, you don't have the database? Okay. Now, before the midterm, did you when you were following along with class, like didn't you already have a database for the games that worked for you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. If you need to create one, what could I do? I can show you real quick how to create a collection on MLab. Are you already in MLab? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, here's another. For some of you in the midterm, you may have gotten some errors with MLab, some kind of URL being misparsed. It's probably because you forgot to create a user for your collection. So let me just quickly show this. So to create a new collection in MLab real quick, are you in MLab now? Yeah, okay, so I just said create new here. Yeah, and then sandbox. In this case, the lower right continue button. US, Virginia, East, continue button at the bottom right corner. Database name, call it whatever you want. Now and then just say submit order at the bottom there. There you go. Now you should have a new database in the list. Yes, awesome. So when you now click on that database, okay, now there's a button there called Add Collection. And then call it, for me, I called it retro, but whatever you want, I guess. Yeah. Now you should have a new collection listed. Okay, now in order to access this, there's a tab. Right now, the tab is under collections. If you click on the users tab, add database user, and create one. Whatever you type here will be your authentication. And then once that's done, let me just once that's created, to actually get the authentication, if you scroll up on that, just scroll up, you'll see this this line right here. So that's what you're going to put in your variables .env file, but it's going to look like this. Here's mine. Right, database equals, and that thing. And that should work for you. So if you test it by adding a record, it should work. Hopefully. Yeah. If not, I guess you can just follow along. Yeah. Okay. Let's get out of here. Okay. Out of here. All right, so now for Passport, we'll have to install some Passport packages. As you remember in the video, there was 4 that we needed. And then once we install them, we'll have to configure them in app.js. And then we'll have to create the forms, register login. Once we do that, we'll have to make changes to the admin page because we want to hide the admin page unless you're logged in. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the command prompt or the terminal. And let us install 4 packages. Does anyone remember any of the names that were in the video? No? Okay, I'll just say npm install passport, passport-local. Passport, was there a question? Local, no? Goose. Express question. I'm typing this npm I express, npm I passport, passport local mongoose, and express. Let us quickly examine npm's website just to get a definition of what these do for us. Yeah, I did it all at once, and there should be 4, not 3. So passport, passport local, yeah, passport local mongoose, and express session. So let's go into npm's website real quick. By the way, if you're the way I remember npm's website, if I say npm.im/ and then the package name, that's just a shortcut URL shortener for npm's website. So npm.im/passport will give us npmjs.com/package/passport. So here's passport. Passport's sole purpose is to authenticate requests. Next one, passport local. What does that do for us? Passport local lets you authenticate using a username and password. Great. Local passport-local.mongoose. Passport local mongoose is a mongoose plugin that simplifies building username and passport login with passport. Okay. That was a tongue twister. And then finally, express session. Basically allows us to manage user sessions. Okay. Just a word about passport local mongoose. Since we are storing users in our Mongo database, but keep in mind, we're using Mongoose to talk to the database, but it could have been any other database other than MongoDB. All right, so we've installed 4 packages. What's the next step? What do you think is the next step? Go into which file to configure? app.js. Here we are. And let's require some of this stuff and use it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to require passport and express session. So let's put it right here. I'll just put lots of comments here just to explain what we're doing. You don't have to do this, but okay. Passport dependencies right here. I'll say const passport equals require passport. The next one is const session equals, what do you think? Yeah. Require express session. Great. So we're doing these 2 lines for the purposes of 2 things. Number 1, to store user information into the session object. And number 2, to store messages in a session so that we can display that message. For example, if the user tries to log in and it's an invalid login, you want to store some kind of message in the session so you can display it, and then you can redirect later. Next line. Now, this is a lot of configuration. If you remember in the video, there's a lot of configuration. So once we get past this, hopefully it's all, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Open roads, something like that. Smooth sailing, yeah, that's it. All right. Next one, I'll just say, actually, I won't put a comment here. I'll just say const local strategy equals require passport Now you'll notice we have this little dot strategy here. That's basically saying we only want the strategy class. We don't want the whole thing. And this strategy defines what type of login we're doing. In this case, we're doing a local login. Now, to actually configure Passport, it has to come after our Express app exists. So someone tell me which line number am I focused on? Which line number where Express starts to exist? Our Express app starts to exist. Because Passport has to come after that. You can't configure Passport before that because it won't work. Which number do you think? What was that? Say it again. 17, right here. So right where we say app equals Express and run the function, that's when our Express app starts to exist. It's instantiated, right? So you have to make sure rule number 1 is when you're doing the Passport configuration, it has to come after that line. Okay. However, it has to come before a certain line as well. And so it has to come before line, in my case, it has to come before this line, line 37. So just before we use our roots. Why do you think that is? Why does it have to come before these roots? Passport configuration. Yeah, exactly. It has to the passport stuff has to intercept it before the user actually goes to these roots, because passport is the middleware. Okay, so it has to come before that. All right, so let's use some stuff. Password for controller reference. Or here, so I'm gonna just create some space here above the roots, and I'm going to use. I'm gonna say app.use. Do I have to magnify it? Is it too small in the back? Yeah. Okay. I always fear magnifying on my end because for some reason my code looks so different and I can't see everything and I make mistakes. All right. App.use, and then inside that we're going to say session. Inside the session brackets, we're going to have curly brackets. This is where we're going to pass some variables in there. So the first variable in our session is called secret. Here, you're going to have some kind of any kind of string value here, anything you want. Who knows what the secret is used for? What's the purpose of the secret? Anyone know? Yeah. Yes, for hashing the password. It's used as salt. I'm curious, in any of your other courses here at Georgian, did any other teacher formally explain salt? Great. I don't have to do it. All right. Next one. Resave. Oops. Resave is true. Did anyone remember from the video what resave's purpose was? It basically keeps refreshing the session so the user doesn't time out. And then the final one was save uninitialized false. Did anyone from the video remember what the purpose of that was? Save uninitialized? It's basically you don't want to start doing sessions for anonymous users. You don't want to waste that overhead and affect performance. You don't care about the anonymous user. If they haven't logged in, just let them, don't store any session. Once the user does log in, then you can do the session stuff. All right. Am I going at the right speed in terms of, yeah? Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to keep on asking that throughout. Okay. I'm going to say a comment here. Now we're going to initialize passport. And we're going to say app.use passport.initialize. And app.use passport session. Luke. Never mind? Okay. So here we're telling the application to initialize passport. It has a method called initialize, which we want to invoke. Also, we want to enable sessions. And so we call passport's own session method. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to need is a model. So right now in our models folder, we only have the game.js. We're going to create some code here in our app.js to refer to a model that we have yet to create called user. So underneath, where did I go? Where did I leave off? I left off right here. Get some more space there. So underneath the passport session line, I'm going to say const user equals we're requiring our models, which we have yet to create. Our models user JS file. And then we're going to say passport.use, and then we're going to use what we just created, and we're going to call the function strategy. These two lines are the new lines right there. Finally, after that, you have to serialize and deserialize. So I'll just make a comment here. Read, write, user, login, info to Mongo. We say passport, serialize user. And inside the brackets say user.serialize user. And deserialize is the same way. Deserialize. All right. Oops. So these are the two new lines that we just added. Yeah, so we have yet to define this, but in our models folder, just like we have a game model, we're going to now create a user model. And then that will be, once you say require, that code is now in here, user. Right? And then that already has a method called create strategy, which Passport will use. Yeah. Another question somewhere? Question, yeah.
Is there a reason why we have our user variable start with capital U?
That's a good question. I just try to keep it consistent with, because I think in our, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, there's no real reason. It could be lowercase. Could be lowercase. You're right. Could be. Your preference. By convention, it's lowercase, unless you're using a model, it's uppercase, I think. What did we do for game? Because we did the same thing for game.
Game was lowercase, the model file
Was uppercase? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's good. So that's it. We're done. Configuration. Now from here on in, we're just going to call middleware functions. Let's see here. Any questions or comments so far? Okay, so let's go ahead and create the user model. So inside, open up your models folder. Let's create a new JS file called user, capital U.js. Now, if you recall in our app.js, when we were requiring a bunch of packages, we've used, I think, 3 out of the 4 so far. There was one more we didn't use, and that was the passport local mongoose one. We're going to use that now. Here, the first line, we're going to say, let's just, let's just look at our game model for a second. Game.js, what was our first line? Const mongoose equals require mongoose. Same thing here. Const mongoose equals require mongoose. I'm just going to make a comment here. Reference passport local mongoose to make model usable for managing users. You want to say const mongoose equals require passport. I suppose if you don't want to say this long variable name of passport local mongoose, you can say something like PLM or something. be verbose this lesson. Now we're going to create the model schema. And I don't know if you remembered or caught what that video, that guy said in the video. Does anyone remember why username and password were not included when he was defining his schema? Yeah. So so in the video guy, he had something like this. He had new mongoose.schema, and then inside the curly brackets, he had like nickname and birth date, but he never actually used it, he said. And the point was, username and password is already built in, so you never have to actually explicitly say username and password as fields. But if you have extra fields in your form, that's where when you would define, nickname, birthday, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because we're using passport local. Because we're using the passport-local, it implicitly knows, oh, well, if it's local, you must have a username and password. So that's built in.
So are we calling mongoose.schema or password?
Let's see here. Oh, good question. Where is it? User schema. It's using a mongoose. Oh, there's one more. There's one more line just underneath that. So good question. And this is where passport comes in. I'm going to say user schema dot plugin passport local mongoose. That's your answer. And then if we go back to our game model for a second, let me open up my game model. What was the very last line of this model? It was this one, module.exports. We're exporting game. So same thing here. We're going to say module.exports equals mongoose.model. And we'll call it user using our schema. And that's it. We've now done everything we need to do to configure. So, is everyone caught up? Am I going at good speed? Yeah? Okay. Here's what I want everyone to do. I want you to go into your MLab. First of all, is everyone's admin page working where you can see games and stuff? Yeah. So if you go to your games, you actually see games. Yes, I'm assuming. It's let me demonstrate real quick on my screen. Okay, so in your screen for MLab, hopefully you've identified the correct database that you're using. So in my database, I have games, which you have too, right? My particular situation, I have players. Basically, I use the same thing for my midterm when I was practicing the midterm. So I use the same one. Now, that's it. You don't have anything called users, right? Okay, check it out. I'm going to go back to VS Code and say nodemon. I'm not even going to open up the app. Let's say nodemon, run. Okay, it's running. I'm not even hold on. What's happening here? What's happening? What's happening? User is not, oh, right, because I said capital U. I'm going to just, for my case, because of my notes, I said capital U. And now it's screwed up. Okay. Where did I put that? Oh, no, I'll just fix that there. There you go. There we go. Let's try it again. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? I had the same error last time too. And I think that's what caused my connect flash not to work. So here, okay, this is just a side note. If you ever have something like this where ESLint is complaining, hey, you have a trailing comma, and prettier is actually inserting, or ESLint is inserting that comma. So I want that turned off. How do I turn that off right now? Because I don't want this comma dangle that ESLint is trying to fix for me. So notice the name of this unexpected trailing comma in brackets is comma dangle. I'm going to turn that off. How do you turn it off? Just go to the very top of the file of your JavaScript file here. Do the multi-line comment, so the /*. Inside that, say ESLint, and then the name of the thing, property, :0. 0 means turn it off. 1 means warning. 2 means problem. So by doing that, I believe it should no longer, if I scroll down. Yeah, see? And now the only red line I have here is, ESLint is complaining about indentation. Let me just turn that off. So it's called, in brackets, I noticed it's called indent. So I'll just put indent to 0 as well. So I'll just here after the comma, I'll say indent : 0. Now, if I scroll down, it's not complaining. I'm not trying to insert a comma there. Yeah, I said indent : 0. So that's a way to temporarily turn off ESLint's problems and stuff like that. The more permanent way, obviously, would be a file called, what is it called now? ESLint RC or something like that, which has the configurations there permanently. Oh, question, Amanda. Yeah. 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 Because when I was writing my notes, I was thinking, oh yeah, it's a model. You have to use capital U. But then, as it was brought up today, well, it's a variable name. You should really use, small lowercase, if we're by convention, and then only use the capital when you're referring to or labeling the model itself, kind of thing. Anyways, so now that I did that, NodeMon started. And the point I wanted to show you was this. So as soon as I started NodeMon, I didn't even go in my browser to visit the page yet. But if you look at MLab and refresh it, I have a new collection called users. Did you get that too? Yeah. Where'd that come from? Magic. That's right, magic. I think it came from this line right here. So in our model, when we're exporting it, whatever we put here in quotes, in this case, we said capital U user, it takes whatever you put in those quotes and goes into MLab and does the plural of that word. You can even test it. You could try putting, some other word here besides user and see if it changes in MLab. Okay. Is everyone with me so far? Is everyone at that point? Any errors? Errors. Okay. You know what? It's top of the hour. Let's take a break. 20 minutes. I'll come and fix, and each one of you, I'll come by. Yeah. Cool. Let me just put the timer.
Yeah, this has one of the which has this basis типа я просто полный официальный аккаунт получается целый месяц каждый год хайдринг менялся типа из этих два категорий и школа делать эти типа после своего имени.
Я, честно, я с каждым днем все больше думаю, что я не работаю. Нет. Нет, я учиться тоже не хочу, но работать. Да, я хочу хоть как-то.
Нет.
Я не понял, что, типа, что я так, поэтому я продолжать. Все хорошо, ты можешь все нам нужно в
20. Я просто сейчас пытаюсь оформить, ну, типа, я помню, я была в сентябре. Ну, во-первых, этот статик и так далее. Да.
Ну, нам она действительно.
Нет, почему?
Okay. Not knowing where they are. I did have that. Why? No, I was seeing that. That's what was there.
Okay.
That was the new one I created.
Oh, okay. Maybe use this old one. You can add the new one.
No, I reconnected at the first year retro.
Okay.
So I tried my new one and it's the same error.
Read that message.
The one thing I noticed.
So mine.
I had to add admin view.
Yes. It's making it on my process. Yeah, it's worse.
Um,
I think it's the connection.
I guess I must have missed that.
That's what I had.
I had that.
Mine, the variables I can.
So what do you do?
Let's talk about this. What if we, does any other page work if you went to the, like the home page?
That should be the page.
Oh.
So it's just it's the
So
controller
we're
not
thinking of
providing
web.
games.
We'll just compare.
Let's compare here. So controller, games controller. This code should have already been.
I cloned it, yeah. So weird, but they just I didn't get any of this stuff.
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah. so weird how
It is
you
really
code
weird,
something and not,
Yeah.
unless everyone's coding at the same time.
Well, I wouldn't have had it if I didn't call it, so.
Yeah.
That's pretty strange.
That is so weird.
Why is there a guy? All right, no big deal, I'll just copy it. Not sure where. Where. Gotcha.
Good.
Yeah, I saw the question. No, did you download the file I shared? It doesn't read on the MD file. I just wrote it in the box. No. Yeah, like essentially what I did was, like I emailed him and he still hasn't gone back to me, so. So yeah, like I literally just wrote my answer in here. Crash was like,
There's always something similar. You good, Dan?
because he wants it on this one page. Literally is.
I was wondering whether or not the.
Oh, yeah.
Julie? Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I've already made a few combinations. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, just email me.
Still do it. Normal stuff,
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Topics and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
That's no problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Not every question is gonna need it, but like it has to look needed. So the other guy, he's gonna need.
Did it work, Chris? Still working on it? It's like me. Do you want to just re-download it? Like that makes no sense. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, you delete all these, fill that in, and it'll pop up for you. And then it'll start.
It's working? Awesome.
Well, frankly, you just gotta send it.
So then I guess it'd be like, this small thing, as long as it's neat, organized, I will be happy. Like, of course, like, I expected you to show us, for the copy before we. All right. Sound good?
That's so you. I'm good with that. Yeah, I did a
That's
new
for me,
phone.
It worked? It's everything. Oh, so it's good?
They bring everything. So.
Yeah. Okay. So whatever happened to that first one, I don't know.
That's whenever you like.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is if everybody clones at the same time, the same repository, does it miss information along the way?
Yeah, you get this and you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
Thomas, good on you for during the midterm for doing all that stuff, all the added functionality, which I didn't require. You had the add, you had the delete, you had the edit. So I gave you a bonus mark for that.
I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah.
No,
Well, it wasn't an actual bonus, but because you're the only one who did it, I said, okay, well, I'll give you a bonus. No, it wasn't part of the exam. No. So it was easier than what you did.
Yeah, I can't figure out a small letter from.
Yeah, I know. It's always something simple.
Do you have the npm commands again?
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. Here it is.
All right.
Would you be able to bring up your code for the app?
Yep. Right here. Now, what's interesting is that when I was preparing for this class, I was using Rich Freeman's YouTube videos, and he codes this line here. And then when I noticed my ESLint pick it up saying, hey, you never actually used this in your code, that brought my, I said to myself, okay, what happens if I delete that? So after finishing all of Rich Freeman's YouTube video, and I got my app working, I said, okay, let's see what happens if I delete this line. It still worked. So, but the thing is, if you look at, so So the question is, do you need passport local? But then if I go to npm passport local mongoose, it said here, this line, this magic line, passport local mongoose does not require passport or passport local or mongoose dependencies directly, but it expects you to have these dependencies installed. What's the deal with that?
Directly,
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works. Yeah. So technically, I don't need this line, but I just put it in because that's what we're chatting. But if I commented it out, it still works.
could you scroll down a little bit?
Yep.
I always find there's always something that.
I think the body parser should have been included by default.
Oh, yeah. We put the initialized passport region below the session.
Yes, below that.
What was that again? Below body parser.
Yeah, but yeah.
Hybrid created like
And you just hold on just a little more.
Yep. I think that's it. That's all I had. Yeah. Hopefully that'll work for you. Let me know if it does. No forms. I'll be talking about longer.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe just double check.
Yeah.
We already have it. Yep. There's spelling.
I just said a new.
How much potato? I know I copied that, but I'm just wondering if it still reads it something. How are you accessing it?
Placements of actual using the body person.
Oh, yeah, yours is the same as mine. You actually connect to Mongoose.
Yeah.
Above here.
Yeah.
So it's not that. So weird.
Не, я читаю, было началось 2 года назад в январе. Наступит неизвестно 2017. Я такая, 2 года назад.
What I just noticed something. I just noticed something for the color of your font. You're using Visual Studio Code as well, right? Yeah. Now I'm not sure if it's maybe it's a theming thing now, but my database is a different color from my process.env, and I'm wondering if I'm not even sure. Does yes, Liv pick up the problem anymore?
Потому что я
Well, there you go. That's all, yeah.
Changing it along.
Probably it. Yeah. Okay, welcome back. Now, I'm just gonna introduce Lab 5 real quick because I think I'm gonna forget it by the time I reach the end of the class. So here's Lab 5, passport authentication. Basically, we've used root/index.js, but we've never actually used this, roots_users.js. So the lab requires you to use it, users.js, to link to your existing user model. It says account model, but you know what I mean, user model. And get the requests so that it displays all the users in the table. And that's it. And publish it into a cloud service. Also, hide the add a link to that new user's page in the nav, but only show that link when someone is logged in. Okay. The same thing we're working on now. Yeah. In additions to, yeah. So this will be due, and I've flopped back and forth of the due date. I've said by tomorrow by midnight, but you tell me when you want it to. What was that? Lab 5? Yeah. Lab 5. When do you want to do? You want Friday? You want Monday? You want next week? Monday? Okay. I'm on vacation Monday to Wednesday. Please don't email me. That's why I flop back and forth. Yeah. So let me change that real quick. Okay. So let's say do Monday. Monday, July, what is that? July 9. Monday, July 9, and I'll change the Blackboard due date to the same thing. July 9, submit. There you go. July 9. Great. So that's due on Monday. Assignment due 2 is due those July 20 and August 3rd. Group presentation is due either week 13 or week 14. So you have almost everything you need. The only thing well, no, you do have this. So the only thing you're probably missing is how long should I present? And I still don't know the answer to that because I still have yet to get all the groups. So. All right, so next step is to actually create the register and the login form. Make that form and let's get it to work. So I've done you a favor. I've actually given you the EJS code already. So if you go to weekly learning lesson 8, you'll see if you scroll down, I've given you 2 EJS codes, one for register and one for login. So just copy and paste that into the respective files, and you should see a form magically appear. So let me do that now. Copying my register.ejs code from Blackboard. Go into my views folder. I already have a register.ejs file there. It just happens to be blank. I'll paste in my form. Do the same thing for the login form. So here in Blackboard, I will go into the login EJS code, copy that to my Visual Studio, find my login EJS file, and paste the code. So now, if I run it, I should at least see the forms. Let's see if that's true. Host 3000. If I click on register, before it was blank, now it should have a form. That should look like this, hopefully. And login should look like that. Great. Not functioning yet, obviously, so we'll have to do that. Look it up. So, let's see here. What did I say? All right. So, you tell me if a user clicks on register, fills out, the form, and clicks the button to create my account, what's the first step we need to do to handle that? What file are we looking at? Refresher after the break. Which file are we looking at to make that route happen? The question is, so as soon as the user clicks on the button here to create my account, we want to make that work. So what's the first thing we need to do? The file. What's the file name? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we need to go to index.ejs. So under our routes file, under our routes index.js, we have all our routes. And we need to add, I've already added one there for get.get for register. So we need to add one for .post. Why .post? Because in our form, the method was equal to post. So let's add that in, router.post. Obviously going to use the same path, register. And here we have yet to define this, but we'll just say user controller dot register user. That's a good one. Always tricky those names because they mean the same, almost the same thing. Okay. So what is the next step? Well, how do we make this happen? The dot register user. How do we make that happen? Where do we go? Yep, controllers. So under our controllers folder, you'll see a user controller.js file already there because I made one to get the register and login page, even though it was blank. And so here we will put in the following. Words.register. Oh, thank you. Register user. Now, before I say the next line, we forgot something up top. I have to include a couple of things. So up top in that same file, you have to require passport. we have to require our model. So these are the two new lines that I just added. Back to our exports.register user. Inside the squiggly brackets, we're going to say this, const user. We'll just say, I'll say new user, just to be more explicit. Equals new user. Inside that, oops, squiggly brackets, we're going to say username will be equal to whatever the user typed into the form. I can say this. Actually, let me ask you, why can I say, where's this username coming from? Where's that coming from in the EJS file or the HTML form? Yeah, so somewhere in my EJS, where'd it go? Register. Somewhere in here, I have the name username right there, username for that input box. Great. Question, how come, this is another review question. How come I can say rec.body.username? Where does that body come from? What package? Yeah, body parser, yeah. And then the next line after that, so let's create some room. And say this, user.register. Inside that, we're going to pass in a couple things. Obviously, we have to pass in the username, we have to pass in the password, and then there's a callback function. So the first one is user, which contains in it the username. Then you have the password. So we'll just say rec.body.password. That's what the form had. And finally, a callback function. So as typical in other things we've done, we've checked for the error first. So if error, do something. If otherwise, redirect somewhere else. So that's what we're going to do. So if error, log that error. Like redirect error. If it's successful, we're going to redirect them somewhere else. So the question is, where should we redirect them if registration is successwul? Where do you want to bring them if registration is successful? Oh, the obvious place. Go. Yeah, login. Okay. That kind of makes sense. All right. A couple things I want to say. Note this .register method. It's a built-in method to Passport local. And what's going to happen is Passport will salt and hash the password, but it actually doesn't store the password in MLab. We'll see that in a second. So let's test it. I want you to go ahead and see if it works. Go ahead and register a new user, and then go into MLab and see the results of that. Okay, so let me just refresh here. Right. So test at test.com, test. Create account. Okay, so it redirected me to the login page. That seems like a good indication that it's successful. Let me go back to MLab and refresh my users. And you should see something like this. Yes? MLab? Okay. So check out what it stored. It stored your username. Okay. Did it store the password? No, not directly. It stored it as a hash, and it stored the salt, just like the video said. Okay. Let's try. Oh yeah. The next exercise I was going to do is just let's try another account, but using the same passwords, and we'll see that the hash values are totally different. But you know that. We'll skip that. I want you to try this. Next exercise. Register with the same username. It should give you an error. But how does it handle that error? Yeah.
I'm getting an error that says failed to look up view login. You can use I do have a login.
Yeah.
I have a double.
Okay.
All right. So if you tried that, you should have gotten some kind of error, right? In the terminal. It's just loading for you. Yeah, it's probably loading in the browser for you. But if you look at your command prompt, it should. I'm going to try it. We'll see. Let's see what happens. So if I say, okay, if I say test again, test.test.com, test, create, it's still loading for me, but in my command prompt, I get the error because this is the result of my console log error. Okay. So notice it says name user exists error. So it's giving you the kind of error. All right, so the way to handle this, here's one way to handle it. Okay, so let's go there for a second. So here for if error, let's just try something else. I'm going to delete what we had there before. I'm just going to make a quick comment here. I need to say return. Otherwise, node. So I'm going to say this, return. I'm going to render the register page again, but I'm going to pass a message. So in here, obviously, I'm going to pass in all the variables as I had before, plus a message. So title, register, we've had that before. This time I'll pass in a message. I'll call it warning. Say, sorry, that username is already taken. Okay. Now, as it stands right now, this sorry, that username is already taken will occur anytime there's an error, which is not exactly what we wanted. We only want that error to show if the username already exists. How do you propose we make that happen? Yeah, so we're going to check for this. If you recall, back up here, this name : user exists error. Where did that come from? That came from our previous console.log error. So if we just say error.name, so if we check for error.name to see if it equals this user exists error, then we can run this code. That should work. Okay. So you could do that. For now, I'll leave this. No, I don't know. We'll see what happens if we just leave it as is. Save that. Let's run NodeMon. Try it again. So I anticipate that the registration page will show, but the error message in the command prompt should not be there, or look different. What happens? So test. Yes. So it takes me back to the registration page. I'm no longer hanging. Do I get the? Well, you know what? I didn't say console log error. That's why I didn't show. But yeah. So it doesn't show because I didn't say the console log error. Question: how do I display that message of warning? Yeah. Say it again. Sorry. Yeah. Make an alert. So let's see. What does an alert look like for this CSS framework? Paper.css. Do they have alerts? Alerts. All right. Cool. Let's do that. Was that alert danger? Yeah. Okay. So let me just. I don't need all of this, but I'll delete the ones I don't need later. So I'll just copy their code, and go to our EJS file, put it at the top of the file, see what it looks like, and then go from there. So register EJS file is here. I'm just going to put it at the very top. Paste. And I'm going to delete the ones I don't need. I have here alert danger. And then let me just see what it looks like. I just want to see what it looks like. See what it looks like. Ah, there we go. Nice. Alert danger. Now, obviously, this will show each and every time you go and register, so we'll have to make that go away. How do you propose we do that? So how can we make this disappear when we don't want it to? What should we wrap that in? Yeah, some kind of if. So let's go if warning exists. I'll just immediately close bracket just so I don't forget my close bracket. No, there's one student who forgot their close bracket for the midterm, didn't understand why it was happening, so I always like to close my brackets. And then we'll substitute this message for what we want. Warning. So let's see if that works. Refresh. Oh yeah. I'm getting an error in the, if you look at, so I'm not getting what I want because there's an error in the command prompt that says, here's the error, warning is not defined. So where do we need to go to fix that? Which file? So where is register being rendered? It's being rendered in the controller file called user controller. So in your user controller.js, currently we just have res render register, and we're just passing in one variable called title. And that's why it's complaining, hey, I need a warning as well. So, oh wait, hold on. I'm looking at the wrong code for a second. Please ignore what I just said. If error. Oh, here it is. Now, wait a minute. I already had a warning. Sorry, that username is already taken. Try again. Turn res render. Change initiate. Yes. Okay. Now I'm not sure what happened. Warning is not defined. I defined it here. Oh, right. Yeah. Yes, that's what it was. Thank you. So if we go back to our, okay, where did I put that? Yes, that's what I want to do. This one here. So this is responsible for just getting the form. And obviously we're not passing warning. Yeah, so I was originally, okay. So let's just pass in warning with an empty string. If that works. So right now, if I click on register, it's blank. I say test.test.com again, which I've already done. So it should give me, there. Sorry, that username is already taken. Let's see what happens if I click outside of register. So I click on games, for example, then click back into register. All right, good. We're good. Is everyone there? Am I going too fast? Any errors? Should I go around? Register page? Yeah, sure, no problem. So which file name, sorry? Okay, register EJS file, sure. Yep. So the change I made is right here. So I'm just basically testing, is there a warning message? Does that warning message exist?
If it's empty,
Yeah.
it thinks it doesn't exist. Well, it technically does, but it doesn't trigger the if. Is that how it works?
Well, it considers, okay, no, that's a good question.
So
empty string is a string. It's, you just don't see it.
And if the if statement still says false, so if warning, it's false. If the string is empty.
So it's true.
Content in the string.
Yeah, you know what? That means it's, okay, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm quoting it wrong. But so it's always true. It's just that sometimes it's empty or sometimes it's full. And now I'm double thinking myself, is that the right way to go about it? Or should I be using the, yeah, oh yeah, comment, yeah. Yes. Yes. Let's research that real quick.
Or does the if statement still equal?
There we go. In JavaScript, there are only 6 falsy values in JavaScript: undefined, null, nan, 0, empty string, and false. So it turns out that the empty string is considered falsy. Yeah. So in our case, the empty string is a false value, so it never does that. Always have to go back and remember that. Okay. Cool. So the registration form now works. We now have to do the login form and then the logout form, and then we're done. Oh, and then we also have to manipulate the nav menu so it only shows certain things depending if you're logged in or logged out. Okay. So login, let's do that. Any questions before we move on to login? Comments?
I'm still having that.
Really? Okay, I'll look at that later. Yeah, okay. All right, so for login, we just need to pass in 3 values. So let's just take a look at our roots for a second. Index.js. We have here a router.getLogin. We need a router.post login. So what do I want to do here? Right. Okay. I'm going to, let's introduce a new controller. So right here for this field name, I'm not going to use user controller. I'm going to introduce a new one. So I'll say auth controller login, which means we have to create it. So this is our new line, router.post/login to auth controller.login. Let's go ahead. Actually, before we can even use that, we have to require it up top. Up top, along with your other requires, say const auth controller equals require dot model. Oh, sorry, controllers / auth controller. Okay, so I added 2 new lines in app.js. I added the require statement, and I added the post, the router.post. So let's go ahead into controllers folder and create a new auth controller.js. Let's define that .login function. First thing we'll need, we'll require passport. Const passport equals. Now we can go ahead and define that login. Now, unlike what we've done before with rec, response, arrow function, here, we're going to say this, passport.authenticate local for the first parameter of the string. Then we need to pass in 3 values. 1 value if it's successful, 1 value if it's failed, and another value for the failure message. So here, a success redirect will be something, failure redirect will be something, and failure message. Question, where should the user go if they successfully log in? Where do you want to take them? Yeah, let's go, maybe take them to the admin page. What was that? Fail, let's just give them back to login screen, and the failing message will just say invalid login. Test it. Go to your login form, type in a valid email, see if it takes you to the admin page. Login form, test.test.com, password test, login, admin page. Wonderful, works. It's happening. All right. We're getting there. Now, what do you think will happen if we enter an invalid username? Let's see. Let me restart my session so I don't have to log out. All right, there we go. I've logged out. So log in. If I try something different, that's not even existing, like ASDF at ASDF, takes me back to the login page, which is what I wanted. Now, obviously, we're missing the message, but at least it's working. The infrastructure is working. So let's put in some code to tell the user what's happening if they put in invalid. Where should we put that code? Let's go back to the file. Question, yes. User controller.js, yes, go.
I just noticed my passport.
Oh, you know what? That's a good question. Let me see here. Passport. Maybe we don't. Passport. I guess you don't. You're right. Good observation. I think what I did was, as I was making this myself, I put everything in user controller, and I did need passport for that eventually. Oh, I'm running on batteries? Shoot, hold on. Where's my thing? Before my video recording stops. All right. That's a long battery life, considering. Whew, all right, we're plugged in. Thanks, Luke. All right. And then what I ended up doing was I put everything under user controller.js, and eventually I will need passport. And then when I realized I wanted to separate it into auth controller, I forgot to take away that in my notes and in my code. So you're right, you can take that off. All right, let's display a message in case the login fails. How are we going to do that? Let's go to user controller.js. And then let's look for the regular, which function is called when it's just a regular get for the login. I believe it's this one here, exports.register. I think. Am I right? Am I wrong? The question is, am I putting? Oh no, it's not register. I'm looking for login. Shoot. I'm going back and forth my notes. Here it is. Exports.login. That's obviously what I want. Okay. So here, let's create a new variable called const messages. Here's where the magic comes in. Getting it from the session variable, which in turn is coming from the failure message that we previously defined. So remember back here where we said, where did it go? We were just asking about this. Where'd it go? Not there. This one here. Failure message invalid login. That magically gets stuck into what we just did here. rec.session.messages. What's the meaning of the double? Good question. Anyone care to guess what that is? Why that's needed? If I don't say this, if I don't say or empty array, the danger is this could be null. And then in my EJS file, if I'm trying to display a null value, it'll crap out on me. That's the empty array, yeah. That's my one way to fix it. So let's go into our login EJS file. And let's display that error message. So login.ejs file. And let's see, let's put that message up as well. So we're going to say something like this. We'll say if messages.length greater than 0. So basically, if there are any messages whatsoever, let's display our alert. Let me immediately close the bracket so I don't forget. And so if there is an alert, let's display some message, just like we had before. So I'll say div for the class of alert, alert danger. And inside that, pass in the messages variable. Let's make an else as well, just so it's else. Oops. else, let's just say, please log in. Alert info. Instead of alert danger, we'll just say alert info. And instead of passing in the messages variable, we'll just say, please enter your credentials. All right, so I don't understand why Prettier does this to me, but it doesn't handle EJS very well, EJS tags very well. Anyways, let me try to just so it looks better for you guys now before I say save. There we go. Cool. Everyone caught up? Okay. So by default, the login page will always have the please enter your credentials with the class of alert info, which is a blue color. And if you try to log in with a bad one, then it changes that to the danger CSS with the warning message. Let's try it out. Let's exit out. So let's go into our login, refresh, login. Oh, I'm getting the weird sorry. What's happening? Let's look at our error message. My error message saying message is not defined. Right. I have to pass that in along with our render, res render. So where's my res.render? Right here. So back to user controller.js. We're looking for the exports.login function. Notice that the res.render is only passing in a title variable. It does not have a messages variable. So let's just really quickly add that. To add that. So I obviously said const messages equals rec.session.messages, but I actually forgot to use it. So now I'm using it now. I'm passing it. Again, just as a reminder, I could have said messages : messages, but because of ESX, you can just say messages without the colon. So let's try it. Go into login. Oh, do I have to? I should have done something different. Perhaps? Nope. Okay. Sorry. What did I do wrong? Oh, I think I spelt it wrong because I have message here. Yeah, messages. Oh, yeah. Right here. Yeah. My if statement is what you're saying. Thank you. So in my if statement, I had a typo error, messages.length, not message.length. Okay, let's expect something different now. What happens? Login. There we go. And notice it says, please enter your credentials by default. Let's try a bad one. ASDF. Login. Invalid login. Let's see what happens if I click out of it, then click back into it. Games. Click back login. Uh-oh. I don't want that. How can we fix that? Ideas? Yeah, exactly. Reset that. So I've stored the message in my variable. Let's go ahead and clear whatever's in here. How do we do that? Let's rec.session.messages equals empty array. That should fix our problem. This is our new line. Test it out. Go back to our login form. Refresh login. Shows this by default. Try a bad one. I'll log in, which is what I expect. Let's click out of it. Click back into it. Nice. What again? Yeah, sure. Here, this is the code. Is that the code you were looking for, or were you looking for something else? Or? Now, in another class, a previous class, I previously used something called Connect Flash, which is specifically for this kind of messaging. I don't like it, so I use this traditional one. But you can use Connect Flash. The final thing we need to do. So we got our login working, we got our register working. The final thing we need to do is hide certain nav links that we don't want to appear and do want to appear depending if they're logged in or not. So let's hide the admin. Let's go into our games controller and look for the one where we're rendering, what is this now? All games. So that would be if exports.get games. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should work backwards. Should I work on the EGS file first and then? No, we'll do this. Okay. It's real simple. All you have to do is within this res.render, along with your title and along with the games, you're just gonna pass in one more thing. Look like this. User :rec.user. That will pass in authenticated user, which you can now test for in the EJS file. Go into the EJS file. In our headers, so views, partials, header.ejs. And let's focus on just the admin link. We're going to hide that if they're not logged in. All you can say is something like this: if user. That's it. Close the bracket immediately because I like that. I don't forget. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Let's refresh the page and test it out. So let's refresh. So if I refresh, I anticipate my admin link to be gone. Oh, right. It's gone. Yeah. You're right. What? Okay, what did I say here? Reference error. Oh yeah. Message is not defined. So what do I need to do to fix that? I have to pass message for every single user is not defined. Wait, hold on. Message is not defined. User. I'm saying message is not defined. Is that? Oh, that's, yeah, you're right. Let me clear out my stuff. Oh shoot. Let me clear out my stuff here. Clear. Do it again. Give me a fresh error message because I don't want to scroll down. Okay, there we go. What do I got? What do I got? User is not defined. Right. It's because we have to pass in the user for pretty much every single render. Right. So the login. Where's my log? Where do I render my login page? I render it from. Here. So I'm trying to get my rudder.get login page. Here it is, exports.login. Notice in my rendering, I don't pass a user. So let's add for this. We're just going to add the same thing as we did before, user :rec.user. Now my login page should work, but my other pages should not work because I have to fix those too. So login, there, works. But if I click on games, it should not work. Oh, it does work. Oh, wait, get now. Oh, we already had the user for games? Is that right? Get games. Oh yeah, okay, great. So what other link do we have to take? Register? Register, same thing. So let's do the same thing for register. You get the drift. Register. Yeah, you have to do it for every single one. Now, wait a minute. Now, in the video, what did he do in the video? He did something in the video that was kind of cool, that you didn't have to do it for everyone. He did something like router.use, if you caught that. So you can either use that method or you can use this method, either one. Oh, shoot. What am I doing? What am I doing? Register user, no, I want register. Thanks. User rec.user. So in my exports.register, now I inserted a user.rec.user. So now I should anticipate that that should work. Right? And so you just add the same rec.user for any other link that doesn't work, and you're pretty much done. Now, there is one final thing that we have to do. What's the hacker way of thinking of I still access admin? What's the test? Type in admin, right. If I say localhost 3000 admin, oh, now if I had rec.user there, if I had rec.user there, I would have seen it. So let's do that real quick. Late. I'm in a laughing mood already, so where is that? It was in here. User. So in my gamescontroller.js file, inside my exports.admin, I just added the user.rec.user. So at least I should see something to do. How to protect against that. Should I take a break, like 10-minute break, and then resume, or do you want me to continue and press on? Okay. Let me wait. Do you feel like a break? Mental break? No? Good. Okay, let's go. What was that? Yeah, so yeah, I'll show you how to protect the route. Yeah. So let's go back to our auth controller for a second. Inside here, authcontroller.js, I'm going to create a new function called exports is logged in. This function will test whether or not the user is in. Beauty of this, I'll show you the beauty of this in a second. First, check if the user is authenticated. The test for that is real simple. You just say if rec is authenticated. So obviously is authenticated is a predefined method. Let's go on with passport. And then this time we'll say, I haven't really used that next in other classes, but now we get to use it. Then we'll say redirect to the login page if they're failed. So let's say if failed, then go back to the login page. Obviously, this first one is if succeeded. We're forgetting a couple things up top, I believe. Hold on, let me just double check something. Why did I say that if I don't use it? I think that's it. Now, in my notes, I had this, but I think it's one of those things where I forgot to delete it, where I said mongoose equals require mongoose. And I said const user equals mongoose model. But I noticed just now I don't ever use user here, at least not yet. Do I use it later in my notes? Hold on. No. So I guess I don't need that. We'll just put a question mark around that. We may not need this. I have it on my notes, but I don't think you need it. So here is the beauty of using this middleware. Let's go back to our index.js which is our route. So for the admin, router.getAdmin, currently it's going to display it. And that's where the weakness is in terms of our security. Here's the beauty of the next. You just type in the name of your new function. This is called middleware. So what's going to happen first is when it goes to admin, it's first going to check if you're logged in. If it fails, it doesn't go to the next one or the next one or the next one in that list. Okay. So this is acting as middleware, and if it's middleware, that's why we're using the word next, and which was your question back in day 1 or something earlier on. Why do we use next? Here, if it's it's doing this first in sequence, and if it's successful, then it goes next. What's the next one? The next one in the list, which is this one. So FYI, in a real production app, you could have tons here, right? Validate, that kind of thing. Let's try it out. Test it out. Yeah, my node mod is working, I think. Why do I have a lie there? Okay. Let it go. Let's try to hack our way into admin by itself directly. Enter. Haha. Goes to our login page. Okay. Now, obviously, you can add that in for any other link that maybe in our example, we have a games here, for example, and if the user clicks on play, they can play. Oh, okay, we have to add a thing there too. But you got, maybe we want to protect the play page, and so we'll have to add middleware there as well. So the final thing before we go is the logout function, and the logout is real simple. Let's go to our index.js file and say router.get logout, which we still have yet to create in the nav, I think. We don't have a logout, right? And then to log out, it's real simple. You just say rec.logout. Then redirect them. That's it. Redirect them to the games. And then, so now we just have to add that link to the nav, but let's just see if it works. Let's just test out if it works. So let's log in. Great. I say test@test.com. Am I logged in? Oh, crap. What did I do? And all the time I think I'm doing great. What's my error now? User is not defined, right? Because why again? Because where do I have to add that into my admin, perhaps? Yeah. So let's go to our controllers. Where's my admin? See, I have to add this in. Where do I have to add that in? And which page am I missing? Yeah, I've already added in admin. So what am I missing? User rec.user. User was defined when I logged in, was it not? Anyone spot my error? Or am I looking at a different error? Hold on. Test. Happens, go in here. What's my error? User is not defined. Okay. So where is it? Oh, for man. What am I missing? I'm simple and I can't see it right now. If anyone can spot it. If not user. Trying to get the, let me just double check all my renders for a second. Homepage, I don't need homepage, although I should technically add it, I guess. Add that to every single thing so I don't use it. Again, sorry?
We have lots of
Pages on my website?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's saying, what if you make a big website has lots of pages?
yeah, and that would be a problem, eh? So I think that's where the video, his way of doing it, I'm tending to like his way better, which is the router.use. Let me just see that video for a second. I'm curious. But that's basically the end of the class. Let me see what he did. Remind me.
A router.use callback.
Yeah, that one.
Don't define a URL pattern. We pass in rec, res, and next, like usual, and check if the user is logged in. If not, let's redirect back to the login page. If they are, then simply call next to ensure the next matching route is executed. Can it be that simple? Yes, it.
Let's try that. Can it be that simple? All right, let's copy that. All right, let's try it out. Instead of my, be that simple. Curious to see. Where do you want to redirect them if they're not login, right? Login. And next. I think that's it. So, where are you putting this? We're putting this in what file? In before our router.gets for which file is it? Contacts.js. Okay. Let's try it under here. That's fine. All right, let's try it out. Try it out. Let's go here and paste in my new code. Save it. Now I'm wondering if my previous rec user is going to mess things up. I don't know. Oh yeah. 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 Okay. You're right. Okay. I'm missing something simple. I can't see it right now, but once we figure that out, you're done. Okay. And it's something very simple. I think it's just adding another rec user somewhere, but I can't figure it out right now. But that's the end of class. That's it. Yeah.
When you log in, the user, like your user data, the one that's logged in.
Yes. Yes.
Let's say every page, instead of just having like a user like passed into it,
yes.
It's gonna go into look into session variable and see, oh, so somebody is logged in there, so I guess I can show this page to you. And if they're not, then
right.
It's not gonna do it.
Yeah. I'll come back to you on that one on the next one.
Like you can still use it to hide pages and hide that items in the menu as well.
Right. Yes. I'm sure there's multiple ways of doing that. Let's see here. Anyways, figure it out, and I'll let you know next class. But yeah, that's good. Some suggestions. We'll work on it. Any other questions or comments before you go? Yeah.
I log in.
Oh, right, because Yeah, oh, it doesn't take you anywhere because of this one. This problem here. User not defined. Maybe what I'll do is once I figure it out after class, I'll record myself doing a quick YouTube video, post it on announcements in Blackboard, and that should work. Yeah. Monday. Yeah. Lab is due Monday. Cool. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Last minute.
Yeah, I know.
Monday morning, when you go to your office, you just see pitchforks and torches.
Well, Monday morning I won't be here, right? I got on vacation, so I'll be back for Thursday. All right, cool. Feel free to leave or hang out. Do your lab here if you want. I'll be here for questions as I try to figure this out. What did you figure out? Okay. Let me just stop the recording for a second. Stop sharing. Stop recording.